Hello, hello. I missed you. Well, it's Tidbits from the Love Notes. And I will say this, I just had to delete my message. I got two deliveries and I had to get up. But anyhow, we shared a few days ago about an agent, being an agent for love. Yeah. And the qualities were like how you speak, how you behave, and your character. And then I said, wow, that would be a great thing to talk about today. Talk about character, and focus on it a little bit. What kind of character does Jesus represent? And so the character qualities that Jesus has are the qualities of being humble, being very hopeful, being forgiving, being courageous, and being loving. So I said, wow, those are really good. We could use those for tidbits. Yeah, we can. So I'm about the business of trying to do that. So Jesus in John 11:25-26 talked about believing in him, believing in him and his life and his great qualities. And that when we believe that, it like makes us live forever. It's like what they call everlasting life. We live forever, our spirit, because we have a beautiful, loving spirit that has those great qualities. And that kind of thing is this first quality that I'm talking about was his hopefulness. That was the first one I mentioned, that he's hopeful. So that makes you be hopeful because, and we can have that as a tidbit to be hopeful because believing in he and his great qualities and us representing those qualities in our life and how we live, we can be hopeful because we're not like gonna like die or something. Our spirit's gonna just live on, even though our physical body might go. These great qualities will just live on. And also, we can be hopeful about all the troublesome things that are going on in our world. There's a lot of troublesome things, and we can focus on what's right, not focusing on what's wrong. And a lot of people are doing that. They're just and I know how they feel. They're showing all this awful stuff that's going on, and that's not really what we need to focus on. We need to focus on what we want to be, not what we see that is wrong. Because we need to promote what we want to be, what we want to happen. So that's tidbit number one. So tidbit number two is courage. Jesus is courageous. And so we too can use that as a tidbit to live. He lived a life, he did his mission, he did not run away. And we too can let that be our mission, to not run away, to be forgiving, to do it. Don't run from it, and I have a problem with that. But clean up our area, be courageous about it, and look our best, be courageous about it, and know that things are going to change because goodness is always going to prevail. And so we have to be courageous and realize that it will, and don't give up, because the love of God will always prevail. So that's tidbit number two. Now, tidbit number three is from John 13:34-35. And Jesus talks to his disciples about loving their neighbor and loving themselves and loving, just in general, loving others. We can do that. We can do that as a tidbit. We can love our neighbors and love ourselves. We can actually bring in our neighbors' trash cans. We can speak to our neighbors, smile at our neighbors, smile at people that are going by, speak to them. We can write a note to a neighbor and tell them how we appreciate that they're still living despite all what we've gone through, and give them a little lift. And I do gifts, but I mean, everybody doesn't do that, but everybody can do something. Yeah. And so tidbit number four is Jesus' teaching is about forgiveness. And so that's from Matthew 6:14-15. And we need to forgive others. And I struggle with that, especially people that have really wronged me. But we need to forgive. Jesus is a forgiving, and we are forgiven of all our wrongs. And we're always doing something wrong. So we need to make sure that we forgive and pray for our current administration instead of beating down how horrible they are and reminding everybody all the terrible things maybe they might be doing. But pray for them and forgive them, for they know not what they do. How crazy it is. And despite the craziness, forgive anyhow. And the last tidbit number five, is to be humble. Now, Jesus's walk is always humble. He didn't try to put on or act like a big bunch of stuff, like he's the son of God and he's so important and he's born on this big mission. He did not. He did not show off and he helped the least of God's people. And so we can do that. We can do that. We can walk around and try to serve others. We can pick up trash. You know, we can save a bug. We can take low to other people. And that's from Matthew 9. Help the sick and the weary. We can do that. So these are some tidbits from the love notes that Jesus walks in. And I wanted to make sure that I brought them out today. Happy Mother's Day weekend. I'm drinking my water. I'm getting ready to have a salad. And I think a little spring roll and some lentil chips. And I'm trying to think, and peanut butter sandwich on whole grain bread. So eat healthy, pray and serve, and represent, you know, the qualities of good character. You know, let's do that. We'll be so proud, and we will do it, and then others will be a model for it. So glad we got to share. Happy Mother's Day weekend. Bye bye.